Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. My name is Charles, and in this video, we're going to take a look at how we can go ahead and add some more UI elements to our player lives. In our last scene, our last video, we were basically able to get our player to basically die, and then after he dies, he would basically be transferred to another scene. And so in this sense, what we want to do, let me go ahead and change a couple things here in my canvas. I'm going to make sure my player HUD is actually turned off. All right, cool. So basically what we want to do here now is actually have a number represent our player's lives. So of course, if he starts with something like 3 lives or 4 lives or whatever, and he dies, we want that number to reduce and we want it to show up on the other end. So as our player dies, as it stands right now, obviously there's nothing telling us how many lives he has before the game is over. So what I'm going to do is, as you can see, we're transferred to another scene to show some stuff, and then we're going to go back into the match. And the goal here is that maybe we'll have a number here that basically says it went from 4 to 3 or from 3 to 2, etc. So let's see how that's going to look. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and let's see here just a second. What I want to do here is go ahead and select my panel HUD here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it on so that we can see it. And let me just go ahead and double click on the canvas, and let's go ahead and get it in the right view here. All right, so now we have our canvas here, and remember, when the scene starts, our player HUD needs to be actually turned off. Now I can bypass that by creating a script that turns it off at the beginning of the match and then, or the beginning of the level, and then once the level starts, of course it pops back on. But for now, we're just gonna leave it turned off when the match starts. So for now, what I'm gonna do here is go into the player HUD, of course, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go down to UI, and I'm gonna create a panel. Okay, and then this panel, I'm going to move it to a particular location within the panel HUD, right? So within this player HUD, and I'm gonna put it like right here. And this is going to represent the player's lives. Okay, so I can make this any size. For now, we'll just keep it simple. And then within this panel, I want to add a UI and a text. And I'm going to go ahead and increase that text to something like 36. And then I'm going to use the alignment here to center it. All right, cool. And then so now what we have is, it says new text. I'm just going to make this 99 as just like a base number. Cool. And then I'll just go ahead and do it just like that. Great. And so now we have our text listed here. All right, and so now the next thing we want to do is create a variable. And this variable, basically when this variable changes, I want this also to be updated based on that variable. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my variables here, and I'm gonna call it player lives. And hit this plus key, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and name it number. And for now, what I'll do is just go ahead and set it to something like 3. Now, just FYI, if you are looking at this and you're saying, what are these things here? Ignore these completely. This is something I was just testing in the background, and you ignore this. And of course, if you're looking in the hierarchy and you see working on side mechanic, as you can see, I'm working on something on the side as a test. So just ignore that. Your project wouldn't have this if you're following along step by step. All right, cool. So I have my players' lives here, 3. All right, and so that's all we need to do for that. So the next thing I want to do is have some type of trigger or some type of action. Let's see here. So what I'll do is go to panel, I'll go to game creator, trigger, and I'll just have this on start, and we'll do an action. And let's see, we're going to do this action. So basically this action is going to change this text to whatever this variable is here. So what I'll do is go to action, and I believe is it in UI? Yep, it's in UI. So we're going to do change text. And so the text that we want to change, we're going to click and drag this text into this field here. And I'm pretty sure this doesn't work with TextMesh Pro Text, so just use a standard text. And then in terms of this, you want to just select the variable that we created. All right. So now if we were to push play, this number should go from 99, which is what the text currently says. It should go to the number 3. All right. So to see that, the first thing I need to do is go ahead and turn off the HUD so that it's off. Cool. All right. And I'm going to hit play. So let's take a look. All right, so our scene starts, and great. So now that shows that our text and variable and everything is changing properly, so that's really good, and that's what we need to see. So the next thing we need to do is reduce this number for this text when a player dies, okay? So right now that number would just stay 3, and that's not what we typically want. So what we're gonna do now is go into the player, because the player is where we're dictating when the player's dying. There's that mechanic, that death mechanic. So what I'm gonna do is click on actions, and inside here, what I wanna do is add an action to this list of things that's happening when the player dies. I'm gonna add an action. I'm going to go to, let's see, variables, and I think I'm looking for something math. So math here. Now, the way that this works, and this is really the first time I'm using it, but this is an expression. And so what we want to do is basically this here that's indicated with the curly brackets and the 0 is the result. And so we want to take the result and minus 1. So instead of adding 1, we want to minus 1, okay? So what I'll do is go on my global variable, and I want to go player lives. So basically this is saying player lives minus 1. So when this action plays, it's going to say, hey, we're doing all these things. Oh, you want me to reduce 1 from the player live. Fair enough? Cool. And then we want to also move it. We don't want it underneath the load scene action. We want that above. So what we can do is actually put it here, or basically anywhere above this load scene. But what I'll do is I'll just put it here so that it happens immediately. Cool. So I think that should do it for once we die. So I'm going to go ahead and go out of here, and then I'm going to hit play, and just make sure that your panel HUD is turned off or set inactive. So basically hitting this, because it's going to turn back on. All right. So let's see what happens here. All right. And the scene is now loading. All right, and then so let me go ahead and bring this into view here so we can see the number. All right, so we have our number, so that's great. That's working properly. And now we just need to go get the player beat up. So, all right, so that's 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits, maybe 1 more hit. All right, cool. Player died. You saw the value. It's changing here to 2. That number didn't change yet. But when the scene restarts, it's going to be 2. And so now we're good to go. Now we could get this number to probably change. I could put a trigger on it and basically say, you know, instead of on start, I can say on variable change, you know, do that. But for now, let's just get it all the way down. Let's do it again. Cool. Probably should have had the spider hit him, because I think the spider reduces more. So, all right, cool. So player died. That reduced to 1. And then we're going to go to a nice little graphical scene here that we're going to set up. Great. And so now our player has 1 life left. And of course, if we went down, this is our last life. So if he were to die at this point, we would not have to ding. We would have to start thinking about what that step looks like, right? So, and I think his hitbox is outside of there. So cool. So now he's dead. And ideally what we would want is more instead of going here, we would want more like a game over scene, right? Exactly. So we're going to probably cover that in another video. But for now, for this video, I wanted to get this kind of connected and to make sure that all of this was flowing properly. Okay. So I think I'll leave that it for this particular video. Again, I didn't want this to be too long. I wanted these to be very specific. Each video will contain a small element to keep us moving forward. So in the next video, I think we're going to then translate this information over to the scene that translates when you die. And then we're going to have a nice little graphic or something there. Now, of course, there's no polish, so we're just going to have some squares and some boxes, but we're at least going to have everything that works. Okay, cool. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. To stay up to date on the latest 3D platforming tutorial, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support, you can find me on Patreon, or of course you can hit me up on Discord. I like to talk about whatever project you guys are working on. Of course, thanks for hanging with me. Your support is always appreciated. As always, remember, never give up and keep moving forward. Peace.